What's up, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla, SPY, and the overall market. I'm going to break down some big news involving the Trump administration, what's happening with the policy involving China, what you should be watching for as time goes on for NIO. Just to know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. Anyways, as you predicted on NIO, I was looking to see if we could form a base at this 3.4 to 3.5 area. And I told you to watch for a pushback up once we see this reaction. This could be a delayed reaction after earnings. Earnings were not too bad. Yes, NIO's overall loss was worse than expected at 45 cents, a loss of 45 cents per share. But despite that, keep in mind that they did raise their overall expectations for deliveries. We're expecting a big increase in deliveries for the second quarter of this year, and things are still looking very, very optimistic for them. So that is some good news that's come out, especially with their new brands. So I think that there's a lot of potential for this, especially as they start to see improvements to their margins. But for the short term, earnings alone were not that great. Like the honest truth is, earnings were not that great. The ones that just came out, profits were up just a little bit compared to before. But like I said before, looking at their net losses and such, still things are not as great. I do want to say that, however, despite this short-term results, right, and despite what we saw at least so far with the wider loss than expected, they are going to likely make a comeback as we start to see them scale those deliveries with their other brands. So I'm very confident for the long term. And if we get very, very strong deliveries for maybe this month and next month, we could be looking for a very, very strong report, especially for the month of June. And that could really help their margins and help decrease the losses. And I think that's part of why the share price is up. Now, we want to see if this could hold 3.64. If it does, we're looking for an attempt for 3.93. Mizuho maintains a neutral rating for NIO. They just gave a new rating 2 days ago. And then we also are seeing the price-price ratio, which dipped quite a bit. Typically, when we're at this low rate, we do see this try to bounce a bit as we see some buyers defend. Historically, Thursdays tend to be a weak day. We're only green about 49% of the time. And we tend to see more volatility during the last hour of the day. So watch for that at least moving forward. So with that being said, what do I think is going to happen? Well, when it comes to President Trump, he's been talking about Xi Jinping, and they're going to be once again speaking very, very soon. This is going to be very important as they start to negotiate. President Trump did mention, read over here, that he likes President Xi of China, but the thing is, he is very tough and extremely hard to make a deal with. That's what President Trump said so far. So that's what he's saying so far. But the good thing about this is that he is open to making a deal. So we'll see how that goes if we get any updates involving that. On top of this, President Trump is also telling Jerome Powell to lower rates. He called him unbelievable and said that Europe has lowered their rates 9 times and Jerome Powell is behind. And then he's also praising his tariffs, saying that they're going to benefit us. We'll see about that. We did see the 50% tariffs go into effect on steel and aluminum. That could be part of why the market dipped just a little bit. We got these new tariffs that came out. President Trump signed the executive order yesterday, and then they came into effect today. So that could be part of why the market slowed down. Not to mention the fact that our data wasn't that great when it comes to the ISM services numbers. I think that's part of why the market dipped. Now, tomorrow in the morning, we have initial jobless claims. Then we have a couple of bill auctions, and we have a bunch of Fed speakers as the day progresses. There's not really much coming out for tomorrow, but then we get our unemployment numbers on Friday, so that could be a lot more impactful. So keep that in mind. Right now, the market remains more neutral, and momentum is currently at extreme fear. So we'll just have to see how that goes. The VIX is still down. Other catalysts are still out there. Tomorrow, don't forget we have Broadcom announcing their earnings, which is important for semiconductors. So we'll see how that goes. As far as NIO goes, we're seeing a balance move. So you want to be looking for an attempt for 3.93 very, very soon. We'll see if we break this for the $4 area. So keep that in mind. As far as SPYs going, however, we're rejecting off this resistance over here near 598. So as you guys could tell, we hit 598 last time we rejected. This time we're touching and we're struggling to break it. We need to break 598s to push higher for new resistances. If we can't break that, we're looking for 595 to be retested. And I do think we trade sideways here. But once we lose 595, there's going to be a risk of us returning to like 592. So keep that in mind. Even if we do come down like that, we could still be on a very, very big uptrend, making higher highs and higher lows. So even if we like kind of consolidate like this and start dipping down, as long as you can make a higher low here, we could still bounce once again and continue to go for those highs. This may be a temporary dip if we can't break 598. The QQQ is looking more resilient. It's barely at 528. We got to clear 530 to remain bullish. We look very choppy up here, so I do think we shop around tomorrow like this. But if we can clear 530, we could return to like 525 or so before it tries to bounce again. Looking for a move like that, at least for the time being. On the IWM, same thing. We're trading sideways here. We're kind of weak on the 4 hour, so I could be looking for a retest of 205 to 206. We have to clear 210 to continue higher, and we'll see if we kind of like bounce like this as time goes on. ES also has kind of like a cup and handle. We're going to see if this ends up dipping towards 59.15, and we'll see if we get a bounce off that or not. If we lose that, we could be dipping back down to like 58.80, so we'll see if we hold support and get a rebound. Also, if we break 6,000, we remain more bullish. We're in the middle between 59.50 and 6,000. Whichever way we break will determine the bigger move, so I do think we consolidate tomorrow. We might come down a little bit towards like 59.15. We'll see if we bounce off that. For NQ, very similar setup. We have a tough resistance near 21,800. If we break that, we're looking for 22,000. If we don't break that, we could be dipping to 21,600 to 21,465. Then we'll see if we break 22,000 to get that bounce. Bitcoin's rejecting right here. We need to see if we could hold this support. If this holds, we're looking for an attempt to push for 106,000. If we lose this, we're looking for a dip back down to 103,500. So we'll see if we bounce off this. Tesla's coming down a bit. We got this big rejection, at least so far. We could be dipping towards 325 if we don't bounce here. We're still looking kind of weak. The reason why Tesla's dipping is because the German sales were bad, and we have new steel and aluminum imports coming out, and the ISM services data was not good. So 3 bad things came out for Tesla. That's why it might dip a little bit more. I still believe Tesla could run really hard approaching the robotaxi event, but as of right now, we're seeing a temporary dip this week as a result of some bad data and bad news. So there's going to be a risk of us retesting like 325, and we'll see if we bounce off that. So be prepared for some downside. Nvidia may retest 139, and we'll see if we bounce off that. If we fail at 139, we're looking for 135. So watch and see if we see buyers defend. On Apple, we're trading sideways here. We need to hold above 204 to continue higher. If we don't hold that, we're looking for 202, then eventually the low 200s to be tested. AMD had a nice double bottom here, trying to push higher. We want to see this get back up to about 120 and then clear that to remain bullish. We're at a tough resistance though around 119. We got to break that or else we could turn back down to 115. AMD needs to hold above 128. If we don't hold this, we could dip lower. If we hold this, we could be pushing for 135. For Coinbase is also trading sideways here. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders. If we hold 254, we're looking for a nice rebound move. And if we end up losing this, we're looking for a dip back down to 252. There's an inverse head and shoulders. So we'll just have to see how things end up going right here as we approach this resistance. So keep that in mind. So there could be a bounce if we could hold at 254, by the way. Amazon's looking a bit more bullish. We need to see 206 hold. As long as it holds, we're looking for 210. Meta remains bullish. It's very resilient. Good news has come out. So we're looking for a 690 and 700 as our targets. Google could be looking for a 172, and Microsoft could be looking for essentially 466 as long as we continue these trends. The VIX is still kind of weak here, but we're going to see if it bounces as it's near support. Some big tech stocks want to push, but I'm a little concerned about SPY because we're at a tough resistance near 598. We'll see if we crack past that to remain bullish. If we lose 595, we could be dipping to like 592 or below. So be careful with these levels and just know there's going to be a risk of some downside. We do have initial jobless claims coming out tomorrow and some minor data, but I'll keep you guys updated in case we get some tariff updates. For now, we're waiting to see what updates we get. With that being said, the market may slow down a bit, but NIO is looking very resilient. As long as we hold a 3.74, we're looking for an attempt to get back up to about 3.93, so keep that in mind. Thank you for listening, and peace out.